Tuesday. Appreciate you all being here with us. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Karam. Boys, how we feeling?
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
As always, WWE superstar Roman Reigns will join us. Looking forward to that. But we pick things up with the defending champs in the Big Easy. After the Cavs fell 124-122 to an Anthony Davis-less New Orleans Pelicans team, Cleveland's fifth loss in its last 7 games, LeBron James unloaded on what he believes is a ill-equipped roster to repeat.
I wasn't trying to force anything. I was taking what the defense gave me, got my guys involved, got some rebounds, but some games is like that. We didn't play well all in the first quarter and allowed them to get that lead. And, when you get behind like that, even the shots that you start to play defensively and contest, they were still hitting a bunch of bombs. So just too comfortable to start the game. We had to switch our whole game plan, which kind of, which is tough, an adjustment period, but we still have to, be better than that. We got to figure it out. It's been a 2017 so far.
Interesting take from the king there. Stephen A., what problem is LeBron referring to?
Well, first of all, he's referring to the fact that they don't have a backup point guard. That's number one. Kyrie Irving and LeBron James in together are your ball handlers. Yes, they acquired Kyle Korver. He's a shooter. He's not a ball handler. J.R. Smith happens to be a shooter who can handle the ball a little bit, but he's far from a ball handler himself. You have no legitimate backup point guard because you worked out a sign-and-trade deal when Matthew Dellavedova got an offer sheet of 4 years, $38.7 million or something along, $38.5 million from the Milwaukee Bucks. And as a result, you never truly replaced him. If you're LeBron James, you're speaking about a frustration that resonates and expands years. Remember, a couple of years ago, they had an opportunity to keep Matthew Dellavedova for just $4 million per year. They elected not to do so. He ends up getting the money that he got from Milwaukee. They refused to match it. They got a trade exception in excess of $4 million, but you still don't have a backup point guard. That puts immense pressure on LeBron and Kyrie Irving, Max, because what happens is one of them needs to be in the game at all times, which is why both of them played plus 40 minutes last night. One of them needs to be in the game at all times because those are your two ball handlers. If both of them are out of the game, you have absolutely no ball handler, which means one or the other has to be in the game, if not both of them. And if you're LeBron James and you've been to 6 consecutive NBA Finals, it is taxing on your body, but more importantly, it's taxing on your mind because unlike Dan Gilbert and David Griffin, who's done a good job, by the way, as the general manager, but these individuals are novices to championships. Last year was their first. They don't know this the way LeBron knows this. Not only is he a 3-time champion, he's been to the finals 6 consecutive years. He knows how hard it is to get to this next level. And when you consider the fact that he's sitting there and literally telling you what this team needs, you would think that they would sit up there and heed the words of the greatest player in the world, who happens to be a reigning defending champion, who happens to have gone to 6 NBA Finals. And the fact that he has to tell you over and over and over again what the hell you need, and you don't seem to be listening to him, is frustrating. I have more, but go ahead.
Well, this is when they made the Korver deal, when they were even discussing it. My comment was what they really need is a backup point guard. And I think that particularly affects LeBron because Kyrie Irving's not really the point guard of the team. LeBron James is the point forward or whatever, right? He's the guy really responsible. You even heard him say just there, getting his guys involved. And Kyrie oftentimes plays off ball, making him look maybe at times not quite as good as he actually is. But LeBron knows how to make any unit function at its optimal level, and could see he needed a backup point guard. He's now playing far too many minutes, not able to rest himself quite the way he did last year, which I think is a big reason they won the championship, and he's upset about it. Not to defend Dan Gilbert. I'm loath to defend Dan Gilbert, but this is the structure of the NBA. If you have a super team, you really don't have a lot of money to spend elsewhere. So you're going to be top heavy, especially if the super team doesn't evolve over time through draft picks and stuff, as the Thunder look like they might, but is thrown together or put together. So you have LeBron James, Kevin Love, and Kyrie Irving. That sucks up all the money. Now you have to figure out, bargain basement stuff, which is why Felder, you go get an undersized rookie point guard. It ain't going to cut it. But this is one of the reasons that we marvel at the Spurs or in football at the Patriots, franchises who are able to compete with depth at the top of the sport over many, many, many years, because generally what happens is you wind up top heavy and you start scrounging the bargain bins for backup point guards, which is the situation that the Cavs find themselves in now.
You know, if you're David Griffin of the Cavaliers, here's what you're looking at. You're looking at the fact that LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers gave up 70 points in the first half to a New Orleans Pelicans team that didn't even have Anthony Davis, who's going to be the greatest player in the world in a year or so if he's not already. I mean, 28-12, this brother is something special. He did not play last night. Terrence Jones, who is far from ambidextrous, by the way. He is strictly a lefty. He can play. I like him. But, this is not a star. He dropped 36 on the Cleveland Cavaliers last night. Drew Holiday, who I loved from his days in Philly, who clearly the New Orleans Pelicans are a better team when he's on the court, he did some damage as well. Both of them had 22 points apiece in the first half. I mean, that is just embarrassing. And so when you look at it from that perspective, if you are David Griffin, you're paying attention to that defense. You're paying attention to some of the liabilities they're having on that end. And dare I say, if you're David Griffin, you're a bit frustrated by what you heard from LeBron, because what that does is highlight the Cleveland Cavaliers' need. And when he's on the phone working the phones, trying to make deals happen, people are trying to extort more from them. Why? Because your star is screaming for this level of help.
And this is what LeBron has done in recent years, by the way. He's tapered back on the defensive effort because he needs to preserve himself. He needs to conserve the energy for those championship runs.
Right.
But you saw a couple years ago, what happened to LeBron's defense? Right. KD, when he won the MVP, he's playing better defense than LeBron. But we see when he needs to turn it on in high leverage moments, LeBron's still a shutdown defender at every position.
Here's where it's interesting, and here's what I wanted to share with you this morning. New York Knicks want to get rid of Carmelo Anthony. They want to get rid of him bad. They were willing to take Kevin Love, who's had back injuries, knee injuries. I mean, Lord knows what else. Body supposedly is breaking down. They have a taker. The Cleveland Cavaliers have a taker in Kevin Love from the New York Knicks. They are willing to take Kevin Love because they want Carmelo Anthony gone that bad. And he is willing to waive his no-trade clause to go to Cleveland. So we have to keep our eyes on that. The problem is it makes things very, very interesting because when David Griffin is sitting up there listening to a LeBron James, even though Carmelo's not a point guard, even though that still doesn't address your backup point guard needs, even though you still need to call Orlando about DJ Augustine, or you need to call Phoenix about Knight or Tucker, or you need to call somebody else in Denver, or even New York with Brandon Jennings. The fact of the matter is that Melo is a mega deal. Melo with LeBron, with Kyrie, and our finals against the Warriors, I don't mind that at all. I don't mind that at all. And it's very possible. But because LeBron is complaining, and because he's been relatively outspoken about it, it's the perfect excuse for the Cleveland Cavaliers to use to say, well, other teams are asking for too much because they're trying to extort us because they know how desperate our needs are. That's what you have to be careful about. It's a game of chess. It's a game of chess.
That would be the most New York Knicks thing of all time, to have a Clippers team that may need to move Blake Griffin and where it has Chris Paul, and maybe you could convince to take Carmelo Anthony to pair with Chris Paul to eventually act as a lure for LeBron James. It'd be the most New York Knicks thing of all time, instead of going that way, to wind up with a broken-down Kevin Love. Very New York Knicks.
That's a good point.
It's chess, not checkers. Just ask the Cavs, because they weren't the only favorite to lose last night. Warriors do.
Well,
Heat can win it with the last shot. Raiders against Klay Thompson. 3 for the win. Got it! Oh, Raiders! From downtown! It's a free ball with 0.6 seconds left to go. Do you believe it?
The Warriors had their 7-game win streak snapped by the Heat, suffering their first loss when Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson all scored at least 20. They've been 14-0 otherwise. Is it possible, Max, that the Warriors aren't who we thought they were?
The Warriors are exactly who we thought they were. I mean, exactly who we thought they were. We knew that they were going to stack the... Look, the question with the Warriors this season is if you stack the talent high enough, if you add Kevin Durant to a 73-win regular season team that gets to Game 7 in the final minutes, final possessions of Game 7 of the finals at home, even if you disrupt the chemistry and take away a key defensive piece like Bogut and Iguodala declines a little bit, all that, if you add Kevin Durant, is that just too much? Does it overcome everything else? And we knew early on they'd have to adjust to each other and all these kind of things. But that the answer very well may be, yeah. You add Kevin Durant to a 73-win team, it just may not matter anymore. That's the Warriors. Everyone lost last night. Otherwise, they've been decimating excellent teams. the Cleveland Cavaliers, whoever they've been playing, they will continue to decimate excellent teams on their way to the finals. Whether they win in the finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers is another story. But we're who they thought.
Much ado about nothing.
They're a high 60-win team at least.
Well, listen, they're a high 60-win team. They're clearly going to go to the Western Conference Finals. The only team standing in their way, as far as I'm concerned, is the San Antonio Spurs. The Warriors are being underappreciated in terms of their defensive prowess. Number 1 in steals, number 1 in block shots, number 1 in disrupted shots. Why? Because Kevin Durant's arrival hasn't just added and elevated their level of offensive efficiency. I mean, Kevin Durant should be an MVP candidate for his efficiency alone. He's been shooting plus 50% all year long. Just the other night, he dropped 40 on 16 shots. This stuff is just unheard of in terms of his efficiency and accuracy. But defensively, think about this for a second. Tell me when in the day have you seen a 3-headed monster defensively, if not a 4-headed monster, in terms of the length of Kevin Durant, the length of Klay Thompson, the length of Andre Iguodala. We know how rough and rugged Draymond Green can be, and Steph Curry is underestimated as a defender because even though he's not the kind of guy that you can dance on him, as Kyrie Irving showed us, he's lanky and lengthy. He's a legit 6'3".
And he knows how to funnel guys in the right direction and use the guys.
You got to be careful about how you handle the ball around Steph Curry. But where I say a loss like last night resonates with me is not just about how you can catch the Warriors sleeping, because you're not going to catch them sleeping in the finals, but how you can get at them is that they're softer on the interior because Jaja Pajulia is not Andrew Bogut. Andrew Bogut was a rim protector. Yeah. That says to me that if you're Cleveland, for example, because we all expect Cleveland to be in the finals out of the East, LeBron and those boys have to post up. They have to attack the interior of Golden State. If you do that, slow the game down. The referee is going to let you play. Get a little bit more physical because you beat them up last time. This is the kind of stuff that's the only thing that's going to work for Cleveland.
Sure, but that's who we thought Golden State was. Like without Mozgov, without Bogut, we knew that they would have some issues there. Maybe they have to make a deadline deal for a big body who could do that for some minutes. They're still blocking shots. Like, as you mentioned, KD's length is really something. We even saw that in the
You're not going to beat them being a perimeter game. You're not going to beat them with a perimeter game.
But that's also the point. We're just comparing them to the Cavs. They're just, when you said, oh, this season is ruined because of that, they're really being measured against the Cavs. Apologies to San Antonio. You can never count them out, yada, 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 but I'm really paying that lip service. The fact is, it's going to be Warriors, Cavs. How do they compare to each other?
Well, first of all, I can't summarily dismiss San Antonio because of Kawhi Leonard, because of LaMarcus Aldridge, because of Pau Gasol, because of Popovich, the length and how they can attack on the interior if necessary, and they were focused on that. They could make things interesting. Plus, they're stout defensively. But what I would also say to you is this. I am getting sick and tired of you, Max Kellerman, trying to ignore my point. See, it's people like you who go to Vegas or Palm Springs or someplace else once a month, but don't have to travel the way I got to travel. They have no appreciation for what I experience. Listen, that's not the point, Molly Wood.
You're making it seem like he's taking a vacation.
Listen, Molly Wood, that is not the point.
Okay,
the point, Molly Wood, is that this dude sits up there and he travels like once a month and stuff like that.
Not to Cleveland? Is that what you're saying?
It ain't to Cleveland. It ain't to Oklahoma City. It's not to San Antonio. These are not direct flights to these places.
Yeah, I have to go to Vegas and L.A. all the time.
Vegas and L.A. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sometimes Miami, sometimes Puerto Rico.
You see what I'm trying to say? England, let's not forget London. All right, let's not forget those places. See, it's people like you who have no appreciation, no empathy whatsoever for what I have to endure and why to watch Kevin Durant and Golden State just run. To go there with an outcomes predictable.
It was nice when LeBron was with the Heat.
Make me
you
sick.
Enjoyed it. You had a few good years in Miami.
I'm here, Molly Wood, right now. I'm here, Molly Wood.
He has a point. I don't have a lot of sympathy.
This is what I'm trying to say. I have to sit up there and travel to these places and look forward to foregone conclusions, predictable outcomes, blowouts, or whatever the case may be, after catching connecting flights, after getting delayed.
You know why you have to?
This is ridiculous.
Because we're all sitting at home watching TV waiting for Stephen A. to make it interesting.
Well, I hear you, and I appreciate that because that happens to be factual. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is that it doesn't negate my suffering. Alternative facts? Alternative facts? Okay, Kellyanne. Okay, Kellyanne. Come on now. This is just ridiculous. Kevin Durant, because of his greatness, has ruined my season.
Not going to ruin the finals, though. He's going to make it up in the finals. This is going to be epic. We just, So
I got to wait till June.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So I got to travel now to June.
Did you like watching Mike Tyson knock guys out in one round?
This is not the same.
Speaking of greatness, Steph Curry will be honored tonight at his alma mater, Davidson College.
He
They're
deserves
going to
it.
name the student section after him, so that'll be a pretty cool moment.
He deserves it.
Coming up later in the show, his coach, Steve Kerr, is disappointed in the players voting for the All-Star game. You don't want to miss what these two have to say about that subject. Also, Johnny Manziel